All right, good morning. We'll start the next session. It's my pleasure to introduce my friend Sheenah Hartigan. I've had an opportunity over the last couple of years to co-present with folks from around the country at all different organizations and all different kinds of institutions. And Sheenah and I presented for WCET together. And on a, the most valuable part of that for me in those engagements is the pre-meetings where you just kind of banter with people and chat with people and learn about what they're doing and trying to figure out what they've been working on. And when we had the pre-call, it was Sheenah and me and a couple of our colleagues from WCT. And I said, Sheenah, and she started sharing the work that she does. And I was so inspired. I was like, I think this session should be just her presenting, because people just need to hear what she's saying and I don't need to be speaking. And they're like, no, you should also do so. I was like, are you sure? And so, when we were setting up this conference, it's really important to me. One of my views is that, we certainly talk about artificial intelligence in terms of the classroom context, the teaching and learning context, and that's very important. But I think that the true impact of artificial intelligence for higher education will really end up being more of our business processes and student services areas, just because of the tremendous opportunity that's there. I don't know if this microphone, yeah, it is. Okay. And so from that perspective, the work that Sheenah's been leading with the Reggie experience at Ocean County College, where she's the assistant vice president for Enrollment Services, is truly exemplary. Is one of I think it's a tremendous hallmark of an example for community colleges and four-year institutions, regardless of size and scope and those kinds of things. And so I think there's a lot of potential for you to have a takeaway for that. One of my good friends works with student services at a community college in South Alabama, and I was talking with her, and she said, "Oh yeah, last night at 9 p.m. I had a phone call from a student asking about how to get some information about a due date." And I was like, "Yeah, you need to come listen to Sheenah's talk." And so she's tuned in virtually. And so I just want to, with that, just thank you for coming down from New Jersey to share your experiences, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Thank you, Asim. Everybody can hear me still, right? Okay, so to give the disclaimer, I will not be able to talk to you about deep learning of any kind. I could not get my own PowerPoint up on this slideshow by myself. I have saved nobody from a mudslide, and I am not from Alabama. So if I'm talking too quickly, please let me know, because Asim assured me that might be an issue. So thank you for joining me. I am on the student affairs side of higher education. Is anybody else on the student affairs side? Yay, my friend in the corner. Is everyone else on the technology side? Students all over the place? Yeah? Okay. When Asim asked me to speak, I thought I have no business being here whatsoever. However, actually in listening this morning, this is foundational work, what we've done. We launched a chatbot, which I will walk you through the implementation, the process, the outcomes. It seems very juvenile when you look at the technology that's out there now. This is not machine learning. It is not wild in terms of what is available today. But it was something that our institution, a two-year school with limited resources, bought into. And it is a bridge, a pathway for students to be able to begin to use AI comfortably within our institution and engage with the institution. And so I think for that, it's important. Let's see. The basics of what we're going to go through, I am going to tell you about Ocean County College, just so you understand where we're coming from, kind of give you the why we decided to go in this direction and begin to utilize an AI tool, what we actually did, what some of the outcomes are, a little bit about the direction that we're going in, and then we'll give some time for questions. This is New Jersey. I felt the need to share. This is New Jersey. If you see the little star, that's exactly where Ocean County College is located. Has anybody seen the MTV show Jersey Shore? Yeah. That's where we live. Those are not our students. But that's where we live. Just to give some context right there. Ocean is a two-year institution. We are celebrating our 60-year anniversary today. Not today, the whole year. 64, 60 years. We have AS, AA, and AAS degrees. About 25% of our population right now is dual enrollment. So high school students that are taking credit for college while they're still in high school. Professional certificates. The fastest growing population for our institution is our Latin population. We've gone from 16% to 21% Hispanic in the past 4 years without focusing on anything. 20 new buildings in the past 18 years, one of which is the student enrollment building. We came back from COVID in July of 21 to a brand new building, which houses our one-stop, and I'll walk you through that piece also. You can see on the bottom of the screen a portion of the college's vision statement. We hope to be the boldest, most student-centered and innovative community college in the country. No pressure. We should accomplish that easily. So our college, like probably many others, was facing a few challenges when we're looking back to 2016. In 2016, the college issued the Noel Levitz Student Satisfaction Inventory. I see some shaking heads. We got the results back and we learned there were some areas of opportunity. I don't like to say weaknesses. Areas of opportunity that were identified were that our students struggled with onboarding, knowing what to do when it came to financial aid, advising, registration. They said that they didn't feel like the institution treated them like individuals, and they didn't know what was going on the campus. We thought, ooh, that's not great. But what areas of opportunity? At the same time, we were facing, and I'm not calling it a challenge, a new demographic of students that were coming onto our campuses like everybody else was, right? Gen Z, as a reminder, our students were born between 1996 and 2006. So they're still coming onto campus. Gen Z is known as digital natives. They've never grown up or known a world without widespread internet, cell phones. They've always known to be in a state of anxiety because of the economy and socioeconomic events of the world. These students have always had what we consider to be luxuries now. Netflix, Amazon, instant responses to actions that they take. That's the changing expectation. We are at a core institutions or organizations that serve students or institutions in some capacity, which means everyone works for a business. And what we have to be aware of is that we rely on customers. Big hot topic in higher education. Our students' customers, they are. I'll fill you in now. And so their service expectations are immediate. And we have to behave like the companies that our students frequent if we're going to get them to be loyal customers. So when we're looking at the service expectations, we have to think about who our students frequent, right? My daughter is obsessed with a very strange flavored toothpaste. You're going to say, why am I telling you this? There's a reason, I swear. She was hysterical earlier this week because we ran out, which then, of course, means she's 8 and she can't brush her teeth. But she can. We ordered off Amazon the strange berry flavored toothpaste at 9 o'clock at night. Off she goes to bed. Next morning, I go out to walk the dog. There's a package on my front porch, the strange berry flavored toothpaste. I was still shocked because I'm still not used to that kind of immediate response in the world. She thought nothing of it. She rolled out of bed at 6:30 and said, "Is my toothpaste here?" It's an automatic, right? That the world behaves instantaneously. The last piece of Ocean's challenges, we'll say, that caused us to kind of reevaluate what we were doing, declining demographics of students graduating from high school. We've all heard about this demographic cliff. You'll have less of it down here in Alabama, but the birth rate declined. And in 2025, we're going to hit the peak. And then for the next 5 years, the number of students graduating from high school is going to continue to decline until 2030. There will be about 500,000 students less in 2037 than there are now. Less opportunities to enroll students. If there's less opportunities, even if we stay at the same yield rates, there will be less students, which means less revenue, right? That's a problem. So we previously looked at this all with a passive approach. We thought, oh, I guess we'll fix that problem when it comes. But at some point you can't. You have to get ahead of it. Because if your retention and your enrollment is going down, if you don't do something, it's the definition or the witticism, Albert Einstein, right? Insanity, the same results. The college implemented a one-stop shop in 2017. A one-stop shop is an integrated student service model. It combines various areas in student services into a single location. So when we implemented, it was financial aid, registration, baseline advising, baseline admissions. After I leave here, I have been told there is an amazing one-stop that you can all relate to, and I'm going there. Anybody? Buc-ee's is a one-stop. I'm so excited. I've never been, but someone told me I can get a shirt and a chair and jerky. And I realize you'll know exactly what I'm talking about when I tell you about a one-stop. One-stops are actually modeled after the Piggly Wiggly of like yesteryear. But when it comes to higher education, the goal is to eliminate the student shuffle. Students go in online or in person. Best practices for one-stops in higher education have students being served 80% virtually and 20% physically. So students go in whatever modality they're comfortable with, and they are served transactionally 3 to 5 minutes. Now, of course, not everyone can be served in 3 to 5 minutes. Those get pushed to a tier 2. And what happens is the students that really need that more complex help, they're able to actually receive it. So we're not bogging down our human resources with questions that could easily and quickly be answered otherwise. Financially, it doesn't have to answer what's the school code over and over and over again. Despite a lot of information, too much information being on all of our websites, students don't know how to hunt and peck for that information. And so what a one-stop does is allows us to proactively provide information to students without them asking. So if a student applies to the college, we're going to say, great job applying. Have you done your financial aid? Because students of today, we talked about the expectations, they don't know what questions to ask next because they've never had to ask them. We have to get ahead of it and give them the answers before they ask. Our initial structure for the one-stop, which we named the hub, in 2017 was a director, an administrator, and 4 part-timers. Worked great. Students were thrilled. They could come into a single location, they could call the phone, one person could answer them, off they go. There were some problems. We'll call them opportunity gaps, right? We couldn't serve all of the students all of the time. I know you'll find this hard to believe, but I'm really awesome to work for, but no one wanted to work 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And when we did focus groups, we discovered that's when our students were actually doing their enrollment-related activities. So accessibility was an issue. The second issue was when someone walked in or called, I didn't immediately know if they were a veteran or a single mom or a nursing student. So we had to ask a series of questions in order to give the student the right answer. How do I register is not the same set of answers for every student. And so it was causing the students to have to do more work on the front end for us to be able to answer them effectively and efficiently on the back end. It was fine. It was better than what we had, but it was a need that we identified. The last piece that we quickly realized was our student body was about 7,500 students. 4 part-timers. We did not have the scope to serve everybody. We got a lot of them, 3 to 5 minute transactions, but we couldn't do it all. So we knew that there had to be a way to serve more students in a more efficient manner. This is Reggie. Reggie was able to be implemented as a one-stop generalist. Reggie does not work part-time. Reggie is a chatbot who answers students using predictive text through a knowledge base. The knowledge base, when we began in 2017, had 1,200 bytes, right? So each question that's inside of the knowledge base had a series of questions behind it. And that's because not everyone asks the same question the same way. So if a student says, or we thought students would say, how do I do financial aid? Reggie could answer that immediately, either through a web interface or through text messaging. What we found was that the students weren't saying, how do I do my financial aid? They were saying, I'm broke. I need money. And what we came to find out is that the bot can answer all of those questions, and we built those into the knowledge base. So Reggie is trained as a generalist. He knows all about, we started with enrollment first, and that was it. Admissions, recruitment, advising, financial aid, the bursar's office. But unlike the rest of the one-stop employees at the time, he works 24/7, 365. He's never called out. He's never brought his personal stuff to work. He doesn't use any benefits. He's easily my favorite employee for that reason alone. The bot made Ocean County College the first community college to launch an AI chatbot. It was a very hard sell. I got a budget line for a full-time person. And I said, no, thank you. I'd like a robot, which at the time was not as easy to sell as you might think. We have since, and we'll talk about it, but all the community colleges in New Jersey, and we were talking about state initiatives, have since come together in a consortium in order to provide an easier way and easier access for all of the community colleges in New Jersey to access this technology because of the outcomes. So the implementation piece. We already had our student needs because we did the Noel Levitt's, the student satisfaction inventory. We knew what our students needed. What we didn't know at the time was what they wanted. The accessibility, the targeted communications. I come from a marketing background before I worked in higher education, and I was used to the blanket marketing approach. Just put it out there to everybody, it'll be great. But that blanket approach, one size fits all, it doesn't work. So we knew that the students wanted that. They also wanted to be served at different times of the day, different days of the week, in different languages, right? We did some research, and my initial thought was I am going to get an interface on the web where someone can sit down and chat with students. No one wants to do that job. No one wants to just sit and talk to students on the computer. I realized I had to put someone there all the time. So that's not a great job. So I immediately switched to a text interface, and we did an RFP. We elected to eventually go with a vendor that only focused on higher education. We started with a really small group because if we were going to make really big mistakes, which we did, it's better to make them with a really small group. So the initial group of students that we chose to use as our pilot group was NJ STARS students. So in New Jersey, if you're the top 15% of your graduating class, you go to the community college for free. So we chose to use that group as our pilot group. The entire implementation took about 6 weeks. And I say the entire implementation from the time that we got the knowledge base and started training and testing to the time of our first campaign. We have continued training and honing the knowledge base and the logic and the algorithms ever since. So it is continuous. If we didn't do that, we would be saying things to students that are no longer relevant. They would not understand any of the jargon that we're using. So we have to keep updating. Testing was much easier than I would have thought. we played Stump the Bot. Originally, we had high-level management, mid-level management, entry-level employees from across the college, athletics, faculty, student affairs personnel, we had security, and they were just texting back and forth. They would text the bot would text back, and we tried to stump the bot. Every time the bot didn't know an answer, it raised a flag. We would go in and we would check it. And then we realized we had to get students involved because we have no idea what's cool or how they say things. So where is my reward check? They really just want to know where their student financial aid refund is, right? So we had students involved, we did testing. We initially launched at, you're all gonna cringe, 68% automation rate. That was, the goal was 70. We launched at a 68%, which means the bot was able to answer the questions without human intervention 68% of the time. I was thrilled when we launched with that automation rate because there was no way I, as a supervisor, could know that any of the other team members that I work with were answering correctly 68% of the time. With the bot, I could see everything the bot was saying. So to me, that seemed great. We have since gone back, launched obviously across the college. We've increased from just enrollment to also include retention, college knowledge, transfer information. We're at a 97% automation rate now. So 3% of our questions have to be escalated to a human. Not bad. I look back now and think, I don't know how I launched with that, but I continue to say best practice, be at 70%. So let's dive in a little more. Depending on the audience, I would usually tell you what AI is. Not gonna do that here. I am gonna tell you how Reggie works. So Reggie uses predictive text in order to answer students at scope. So, does anybody recognize this little pyramid? It's the behavioral intelligence pyramid. So he combines his ability to quickly scan the knowledge base and answer students with behavioral intelligence. So the bottom of the pyramid is the IQ. What that means is Reggie wants to make sure he's giving the right answer to the question that's being asked, the IQ, right? Makes sense. If that's all he was doing, that's one thing. But he's also got the EQ, which is the emotional intelligence. So Reggie's able to see whom he's talking to and not only give the right answer, but he says it in the right way. So if he's speaking to a non-traditional student, he's not going to say, "Slay, you ate it and left no crumbs," right? He's going to speak to them a little bit differently. He also says things nicely. And that sounds like it's really underrated, but when we've surveyed our students, we found out they would rather someone be nice than know the right answer. I mean, really think about that. That's because a lot of times the AI that they're accustomed to working with might not be that nice. It doesn't have emotion. The top of the pyramid is actually, I think, the most important piece. It's culture and context, the CQ. What it does is it makes sure that Reggie is not only giving the right answer in the right way, it's saying it to the right person at the right time, okay? It's looking at who that person is, what's surrounding them, and then giving them the exact information they need. And he does it at scale. So using behavioral intelligence is difficult for one human to do when having a conversation with another human, one-on-one. The bot can do this 1 to 10,000 at a single point in time, which is one of the reasons we're able to be successful, is because in any institutional environment, when you're looking at communication plans, they ramp up and all the students are calling at the same time, right? And then they go down, and then they go back up. There's no way we could employ people to answer students in this way in any modality without that predictive text functionality. So far, so good? Checking my time. Reggie introduces himself immediately to any of our inquiries or prospects as a virtual assistant. We've changed the verbiage back and forth lots of times. We stick with this one. The students save him in their phone, usually. They know that if they need to ask something, they can text Reggie. So all potential students are opted in and have the ability to opt out on the first text. Every state has their own laws. Do not ask me Alabama's. I do not know. But this is New Jersey's. You have to give them the ability to opt out. And as long as you're collecting the phone number for educational purposes, you can use it. So what does Reggie say? Reggie is able to push out messages to students. And the messages come in a variety of different types that we categorize. When we first started, we thought, this is great. We can send nudges. How many times do we want to just nudge a student and say, you have to pay? You have to log into your class, right? So Reggie is able to push those nudges when we want the student to take an action. Those are the easy ones. We quickly realized, we're asking the students to do a lot. We're not really giving them much back. We probably need to. That's when we started pulling in, and I'm skipping ahead here, the value added. So we started texting students things like, Happy New Year. What's your New Year's resolution? Mine is to spend more time with my motherboard. Get it? Yes. We started adding in things like there's a 2-for-1 latte sale at Starbucks, or we're doing trick-or-treating on campus. Come get your trick-or-treat bag right now. We started adding in surveys. Surveys are conditional questions that students ask, that we ask the students, that are yes or no answers or multiple choice, and then additional questions come through. The surveys immediately became extremely valuable. Emails are not a great way to get in touch with students, and everybody's going, yes. Our emails have a 10 to 12% open rate, unless we put free in the subject line. Free money, they all open it. So emails are no longer the way to do it. Surveys get 40 to 60% response rates every time because it's quick and easy and it's in front of them, right? The last little one up here are invitations, and I can give a good example. So I said I came from a marketing background previously. 6 weeks is your event calendar. You send invitations out 6 weeks before the event, right? Everybody been to a wedding and you get the event invitation? Not anymore. We see the greatest response and then show rates for our events when we invite them the week before, the day before, or the day of. Our cycle has completely changed. We send an invitation to an open house. See these chairs, the props. We sent an invitation to the open house and we had 100 RSVPs within an hour. If we sent out physical, we didn't even send physical invitations this year to an open house, and it didn't matter because they're not reading them. So some examples. By sending a text message to students saying, hey, free money. Again, marketing background, if you say the word free, it's supposed to devalue what you're putting out there, right? Not anymore. Students like the word free. Free anything, actually, if we text them. Free bagels, free money, free time with an advisor, they're gonna come out for free. We had 400 extra scholarship applications this year, where previously we couldn't get rid of the money fast enough. We didn't know how to get students to apply. We would tell them it's 4 text messages, it's only 250 words for the essay. They wouldn't apply. This is an example of a survey, and I'm going to give you the results of this survey later, but we've used surveys in order to gain real-time data and then make it actionable. So this survey we actually sent out about food insecurity. We were beyond surprised about the amount of students that were facing food insecurity, concerned about money running out before they had time to buy more food, This information was submitted with a grant application for a hunger-free grant for New Jersey. We got $75,000 from the state of New Jersey just from this one survey. We've used these surveys to get even more grants. FIPSI Basic Needs Grant, over $1 million. The Tepper Foundation is another one that we're working on now because it's real-time data and we're using it immediately. On the flip side, this is the fun one. If you're ever having a bad day, jump in and see what the students are saying to a chatbot. To them, it's all anonymous. Students ask process questions. What's the last day to enroll? How do I get into my email? What's the school code? The basics, right? They ask college information. They let us know when it's snowing. They let us know if there's snow 6 states away and they want to know if college is going to be closed today. They will ask questions about where to go. The first day of school this semester, 250 students asked for a map, which comes up on their phone, which is great. And they can just click and figure out where to go. Banter is a big one. This is the one that always makes me laugh. Students invite Reggie to go on dates. They want to know what he's wearing. They want to know if he'll marry them. He gets more thank yous than I think I've gotten in my entire higher education career. They send emojis, they say thanks, and he always responds. So it's really interesting to watch the back and forth dynamic because they treat Reggie like an old friend because he's the constant all the way through from the time they're thinking about college all the way through when they actually graduate. Some examples here, pretty basic. Now, what you're not seeing here is the follow-up. The student wanted to know what's the school code. The bot gave it to them. They continue to ask questions, continue to be answered. As you can imagine, this year, the financial aid questions were really spectacular. We were able to, I think, cut some of those questions off. Lots of love for the bot. They're really, really, really curious about Reggie's dating life. So these are always the fun ones to kind of input there. So what has the bot done, right? The goal of AI, no matter what kind of tool you're looking at, is to increase engagement, to increase enrollment, retention of something, right? It's to fix a problem. So while this predictive text might seem very juvenile in terms of the technology, it had major outcomes for our institution. We saw during COVID, 2-year schools drop in new student full-time degree seeking enrollment, 18.9% during COVID in fall of 2020. Our school increased by 2%. No, I'm not going to say it's all Reggie because I feel like it's also me, but kidding. We have a great team. No, you don't want to say it's all Reggie. You can't assign any one outcome to one particular initiative. But I think it helped in that we were already communicating with students in a modality in which they were comfortable. We saw retention on the decline, even before COVID. So we got the students in the door, we couldn't keep them. Why? They were going to work, they weren't passing math and English, they weren't college ready, a plethora of reasons. We implemented the bot for retention purposes as well. So we started texting students if they dropped below a 70 in one or more courses. We started texting students if they didn't open up their online course within the first 3 days. We saw full-time, first-time degree-seeking student retention go up 2.7%. And that was just in 1 year of implementing a retention team in the bot. Again, not all that, but we've gotten some grants, which we talked about, over $1 million in grants, just using the data. This is the important piece, I think, too, because a lot of times in higher education, we ask students questions and we ask them to self-identify and we say, do you need help with blank? How can we help you? And then we take that data and we have a meeting about it. And then we have a subcommittee meeting about it. And then we decide who's going to write a grant. And then we have another meeting about it. If a student is telling us they're hungry right now, we can't wait 6 months to do something with that data. We have to do something immediately. And to be able to get that information and then use it, make it actionable, has been one of the biggest pieces that we've seen. The human resources is another piece. So if we said, conservatively, it takes someone a minute to answer a question, the bot just last year, calendar year alone, saved me 914 staff hours by the amount of questions. Last year alone, the bot communicated with over 26,000 potential and current students. The bot answered over 18,000 unique questions. The bot pushed out over 350,000 messages. What would it take for a community college to call every student? It would take a lot, right? And that's even if they answer the phone. These students don't pick up the phone to order a pizza. They're not picking up the phone to ask you a question, I promise. So what it's done is it enables us to use our staff efficiently and effectively. And while the technology is not solving the issue, it's allowing us to put our efforts in the right places at the right time. We know when the students respond to us, we know the time of the day of the week, so we know when we have to put staff on. The bottom piece is the student insight. When we were implementing, I thought the bot will just be me, but in bot form. And then I quickly realized I'm not that cool because our students told us that. So we have to use student insight in everything we do. And I don't care what kind of technology you're implementing or what kind of tool you're implementing at your institution, the students are the bread and butter. And so we have to include their insight. So we included students when we were implementing. We include students now. Student workers stay in our database and make sure the jargon is current. I had a really great conversation survey where it was asking students, hey, are you all set up for the next semester? Are you good? And then they would say yes. And then the bot would say, you can spend the rest of your summer maxing and relaxing, all cool. The students were like, I don't know what that is. Like, you don't know Fresh Prince? What? So since then, I don't write any more scripts at all because I am not cool. I read one to my daughter the other day, the 8-year-old with the toothpaste. She's like, I feel like that's plastic. I was like, what? She's like, it's plastic. Fake? Did you know that one? I've never heard that before. She's like, it's not real, it's fake, it's plastic. What? That's why we use students, because I can't keep up. I have no idea what anybody's saying anymore. So things that we learned, and I'm gonna kind of fly through a little bit, just so that way we have some time for questions. We learned about timing. Nobody's answering a text at 9 a.m. Nobody's answering a text at 10 a.m. Our students are typically responding to text messages at 3 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now they respond all the time, but those are the big days. So we know when to reach out to them. 26% of the messages that we get, the questions that we get, are after office hours. So they're on nights and weekends, times that I couldn't staff an office. We've learned when it's appropriate to send messages. I'm not going to send a message to students on a Friday afternoon saying, hey, don't forget you have a bill to pay. They don't care. They have a happy hour to get to, right? We don't want to send students a text that says there's a college on campus for an instant decision day if that student's not on campus that day. So we only send messages to students for on-campus events that day that are actually on campus. For a 2-year school, that's important. The immediacy. So we talked about this a little bit, but the student expectation of response times is immediate. They don't wait for anything. They don't wait for toothpaste. They're not waiting for you to respond. Does anybody teach? Yes, no? I teach in grad school, and if you've ever had a student try to get in touch with you, and so they might send you an email at like 8 o'clock at night, and then they'll send another one at 10 o'clock at night, and then another one at 2 a.m., and then they're knocking on your door in the morning because you sent an APB out for you. Students don't wait. They don't know how to wait. They've never had to wait. They've never listened to a commercial on the radio. They've never watched a commercial on the TV. My own kids call them long ads because they've never seen them. They've never, ever had to wait for a purchase to show up. They don't wait, ever. And so we have to respond immediately, but not only respond, we have to take action immediately. It's not just enough to respond. Planning is really important. and it has to be centralized, and it has to be institutionally backed. And that's for any technology solution that we're using. Before we began to utilize the bot and to centralize communications, we found that sometimes we were ghosting students for weeks at a time, and we just wouldn't say anything to them at all from the institution. And then other times we would send them 3, 4, 5 emails a day from different departments. That's not effective. What is the sweet spot? When is it okay? What should we be sending? When? And where's the hierarchy? What's the most important thing to send them? If we have a veteran student, they need to fill out their paperwork in order to get their financial aid. That's the most important. It's also cool that they could get 2-for-1 lattes. Less important, right? So we have to be able to rely on a hierarchy. We have to speak the right language. And I don't mean English or Spanish or any other language. I mean the student language. We don't speak the same language as students. They have no idea what an ISAR is. They have no idea what a student ID means. They have no idea if they've applied or registered. They can't tell you any of our acronyms. They don't know what EOF is. And that's okay. They shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to translate to understand what we're saying. The bot gives them the ability to translate automatically. So students can say anything to the bot, and the bot knows what they're saying and can give them the answers back in their own language. I don't have staff that can do that. The bot knows acronyms like LOL, IDK. The bot knows things that are just specific for our school, like our SEB is the student enrollment building. The bot speaks their language. I don't even know that I speak the bot's language anymore because I'm so beyond what's cool, which I used to think I was, but I am not. Student involvement, like I said, keeping your students involved with everything. Technology is only new if you remember what life was like before it existed, right? My niece is 20 and I was on a conference call in the car on Bluetooth, not on my phone. And I did this. And she did this. She had no idea I wanted her to roll the window down because she doesn't remember that technology not existing. Our students are the same. They don't remember not having everything in the world at the tip of their finger, right? They don't remember not having immediacy in responses. So we have to remember that student perspective when we're thinking, we're offering them something great. We're offering them what they expect. We liken it to the Netflix experience at our school. So everyone knows Netflix, yes? You go on, you watch a show. And then the next time you go on, it tells you what you probably will want to watch next. Students are the same. They don't want to ask questions. They don't know what to ask, and they've never had to ask. So institutionally, if we function the same way, and that's academically in the classroom, that's on the student service side, that's on the financial side, if we can predict what they're going to ask next, we're giving them the same service that they're already accustomed to. So the point here is that I did not educate you on the new wave of technology by any means. I didn't teach you anything about deep learning or natural language processing, but I hope that we were able to show that even a foundational AI tool like predictive text, like knowledge bases, can be extremely impactful on an institution. And it can work at scope. It doesn't matter if you're a 2-year school in that little state of New Jersey or a big institution. If you have a foundational tool, it can bridge the way to the growth for AI that is out there, that I'm learning about all the things that are out there. Are there questions? And if there's not, it's so awkward. I feel like someone has to ask something. Yay, thank you. I'll give you 20 bucks later. Yes.
So a lot of the problems that we have tackling this in particular is bad data in, bad data out.
Oh, yeah.
How do you handle your content management, your knowledge-based management to both be relevant and correct? Like, what does that program look like for you And how has it adapted as you've implemented your chatbot?
So that's going to be an issue anywhere. We have calendars that are maintenance calendars. We know that we have to go in and review certain areas at certain times of the year. What we've tried to do is to keep a lot of it evergreen. So we don't put the last day to register is X, because that becomes irrelevant in a week, right? We put find out the last day to register by clicking here. They click and it's there. So we've tried to do it that way for the most part. It's hard when the data isn't updated anywhere. And so sometimes that causes issues, but if we pick them up pretty quickly if there is an issue, because the student will say, that's not what I meant. That one gets escalated, we go in, we can fix it. We can jump in and have an actual conversation with the student at any point, but maintenance calendars and then keeping things as evergreen as possible, less specific, which I know sounds counterintuitive to what we talked about, but that is what solves the problem. So you could shout it out. I can repeat it. If that helps you.
Bill Donahue reference, but you just talked about how that's not cool anymore.
I don't know that he was ever cool.
Thank you. This is very interesting stuff. I'm wondering, how close are we to Reggie being smart enough to answer specific questions like, how much will my financial aid refund be this time? And which room is my class in this morning, sort of thing?
He can do it. I don't trust that he can do it yet. I am wildly concerned about a human answering how much is my financial aid refund. I am more concerned about a bot. And the reason is it changes really quickly. So do classrooms. Financial aid is an area where I am very cautious about what we say to students, because the second that you put it into writing, and this counts as writing from the institution, you're held to it. The bot can do it. I don't trust it yet. Someone else might, but to me, it's still not as reliable as saying, your financial aid refund, great. Go to your student portal, click on financial aid, and it's there. Do you have any questions about it? He could answer questions about the refund, the why, the when, much more reliably than what it is. Numbers make me nervous. Does that help?
Thank you. So does it differentiate between student types based on the phone number that's tied to the student record?
Yes. Every student has a list of attributes, and those attributes are dynamic and they can change. So we decide which ones can be overridden and which can't, but each phone number is considered PII in this particular case. So the cell phone number that we collect off of the inquiry sheets or off of applications, that's what ties individually to their record and to their attributes.
For those of you that are in the virtual session, we're going to also check the chat if there's any questions as well. So if you've got questions in virtual, please add them to the chat and we'll make time for those as well. In here?